That was incredible. I think that alone is probably worth the price of admission. So Corrine, who I don't think can hear me right now, thank you. That was inspiring and informative. And what I loved the most about it is she shared the perspective that I'm going to try to share with you. To some degree, I would love to just say ditto and sit down right now. But no, let's go through a few things. So I took this from the perspective of how do you work with senior executives, and what do senior executives expect from you, as well as what can senior executives do for you, right? And so let's talk about that a little bit. First bit of advice, and this is foundational. Don't grind the gears, okay? Don't be a jerk within your organization. Corrine said it really well. You have to understand the purpose of the organization and fit within that purpose. And so if you're in a high-growth company, the last thing you want to do is get in the way of growth, right? Some people may have mentioned having a veto vote on bad deals. Absolutely, you should have a veto vote, and absolutely, you should never use it. And the reason being, leadership is more about influence, right? It's not about being brash. It's not about standing your ground or digging your heels in. Leadership is about working with other people and getting the right outcomes. And so when a bad deal comes through the door, you work with your sales leader and you say, you know what, I'm concerned about this deal for the following reasons. Let's talk through how we solve this. And the best outcome that can happen there, if it's truly a bad deal, if there is no way to make that deal work, the best thing that can happen is to have that sales leader, the light bulb comes on, and he says, you know what, this isn't a good deal, and we shouldn't pursue it. Hallelujah, right? You didn't have to use your veto vote. You didn't have to dig in. You didn't have to be a jerk. So when it comes to not grinding the gears, you can go a step further. How do you lube the system, right? How do you make that machine work better? Look for those opportunities. Be collaborative. Corrine also mentioned that software isn't perfect. We all know this. We deal with so many bugs. But if you're constantly banging on the table saying quality, 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 people are going to stop listening to you. And so instead, you go and you meet with your engineering counterpart, your product counterpart, and you say, hey, here are the top 5, top 10 quality issues that if we fix these, we will have a fundamental impact, positive impact on our business. And so you keep it simple and you keep it collaborative and you arm them with the information that they need to be successful. So yeah, whatever you do, step number 1, don't be a jerk. Work within the system. Understand that first team principle, that it's about your peers more than it is about the people that report to you so that you can make the organization more effective. Second one, never face the federales alone. You need allies. This is a tough job. CS is a really tough job, and you need people that you can count on. And I would say your number 1 ally in the company needs to be that sales leader. Figure out how to have a really great relationship with your head of sales. And it's critical because, like the veto vote, the two of you need to be aligned in terms of what is your target customer? Who are you going after? What are good deals for the company? And what you're going to find is that you're getting a better profile that you can service and retain long term. That sales leader will also help you tweak your offerings and improve things. He's looking at the market. He's seeing what's out there, what people are requesting, and he's going to help you figure out how to improve your offerings so that they are more attractive and more profitable. The other thing that the partnership with sales can do, how many of you feel like your CS teams are perhaps a little underappreciated within your companies? By show of hands. It's a pretty common sentiment among CS leaders. Salespeople, they get paraded up on the stage. Hey, these guys are in the President's Club, or here's our salesperson of the year. Here's round-trip tickets to anywhere you want to go in the world. Does that happen with CS? Not normally, right? The sales leader can help you solve that recognition problem. So what I have my sales leader do is he goes to the CS group and tells them how CS makes his job easier, how our reputation in the marketplace is helping him close deals, how fundamental they are to the success of the business. And so, as a CS person, having the salesperson come in and tell your team how great they are is really, really beneficial, super helpful. The last thing is about rallying the troops. And I think Kareen did a phenomenal job at this very thing, right? It's about telling the stories. It's about understanding your company's set of values and repeating them often. There was a realization that I came to not too long ago that when I was working with teams, things seemed to be going well, right? And when I would step away, things sort of fell apart. Now, you could say, hey, that's bad leadership, or you don't have a strong second line. There's something more to it than that. And what I realized was it's kind of like stepping into a room, and you hold a lantern. And while you're in that room, the room is lit up, and everybody's working really well. And when you walk out, you take that lantern with you, and suddenly they're all in the dark, and they're fumbling around. And it's because we need to constantly go back and tell them why they do what they do, why it's important to the company, how it contributes to the bottom line. And I should have mentioned this earlier, to Kareen's point, the number one thing is retention. It's net revenue retention is what you're really looking for. This year, so last quarter in our quarterly earnings call, we announced that we had 42% year-over-year revenue growth. The reality is that most of that revenue is revenue that we retained. We have over 100% net revenue retention, always have throughout the history of the company. That's the importance of the CS group. The CS team needs to understand that, but it's more fundamental than that. Often, revenue retention, numbers, even the NPS scores, don't resonate with the frontline people that you've got working with customers. Sure, they can get excited about it, but if you're hiring the right kind of people, they're the people who are motivated by the stories, the experiences. If you want people who are going to really deeply engage with your customers, then you're looking for a different kind of profile. You're not looking for a business person necessarily. You're looking for someone who deeply cares about that customer experience. And so I want to share with you a few stories that inspire me and inspire our teams, and that we often share within Instructure. So this first one, how many of you have heard the Trader Joe's winter delivery story? Okay, so only one. So I'll tell it really quickly. A man is trapped in his apartment in New York City. There's a big, nasty winter storm. He can't get out. He needs groceries. His daughter calls a whole bunch of grocery stores. She lives in like the Midwest, so she can't help him. Calls grocery stores. They all say, hey, we don't deliver. Finally, she calls Trader Joe's. They say, yeah, we deliver. And by the way, tell me about your grandfather, right? And so she tells him about him. He has a low-sodium diet, so the Trader Joe's employee suggests low-sodium items that might work with his diet. And you're thinking, upsell, right? Great employee. No, because he didn't charge anything for the groceries. And by the way, Trader Joe's doesn't deliver. That's a great customer experience. The famous Southwest story. Anyone heard this? Okay, great. So there's a man who's traveling on business. He's in LA, and he learns that his grandson is dying. And he needs to get on a flight to Denver before they pull his grandson off of life support. So his wife calls Southwest Airlines and says, hey, we've got this situation. Please, can you help? They say, absolutely. Let's put him on the next flight to Denver. Well, he gets stuck in LA traffic, and he gets caught in that TSA line that we saw up here on the screen. And he doesn't get through security in time, and he's 12 minutes late to his flight. He's sure that he's missed it. And he gets to the gate, and he sees the pilot standing there, and he's shocked. He says, oh my gosh, thank you. And the pilot says, you know what, Mr. Smith, this plane doesn't leave without me, and today I don't leave without you. That's great customer experience. There's another one. Any surfers in the audience? Okay, couple. Any know Eddie Aikau? One, great. So Eddie was the very first lifeguard hired at Waimea Bay, and this is where big wave surfing competitions happen. So he was hired there. Over his career as a lifeguard, he attempted 500 rescues. He never lost one. And many years later, a couple of lifeguards were sitting on the beach, and they were looking out at the waves, and they said, "Man, those waves are nasty. I sure hope somebody doesn't get in trouble right now, because I'm not sure that we could save them. In fact, I'm not sure that I would even want to go out there and try it." And then one says to the other, "You know what? Eddie would go." And that was Eddie's legacy. Eddie was willing to go out into any conditions, any circumstances, the most treacherous of waves, to try to save people. And so then the question that we ask internally at Instructure is, will you go? Right? Are we willing to do the things that make our job a little harder to deliver the Instructure experience? And folks, one of the most important things that you can do is constantly inspire your people. Rally the troops. It's less about metrics when you're dealing with the front line. When you're dealing with the senior execs, yeah, it's about numbers. It's about NPS. It's about CSAT. It's about above and all else. It's about that net revenue retention, right? But when dealing with your front line, it is your job to keep them inspired. Thank you very much.